Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, December 4th, 2025 edition of Douglas Now Live. I apologize for my tardiness today. We try to do these things in the morning, but we had some things come up this morning we had to take care of, and sometimes our schedule gets interrupted, particularly when it's a one-man show the way that we are up here. Sometimes it works out well. Sometimes it causes some problems, and this morning there were a few complications. A couple of things I want to talk about today. Everything out of the county commission meeting on Monday. We're going to get a story up about the meeting, so we will go more into detail about the things that we're talking about here. And the other thing to keep in mind, these are not the only items that came out of the county commission meeting. I'm sitting here looking at my agenda, and our agenda here is about 3 or 4 pages long. It was an extensive agenda. There were a lot of rezoning requests that the commission had to entertain. And then also after that, there were several other first readings of future rezoning requests. So if rezoning is your thing, the county commission meeting on Monday was the place to be. But I want to talk about one of those rezoning requests. And then I want to talk about the county budget. But first of all, you can see our picture over here on our desk. This is Commission Chairman Johnny Wayne Jowers, who was presiding over his last meeting as commission chair, unless there's a special called meeting between now and the end of the month / end of the year. But the commission chairs serve from January 1 to December 31. So this was the last regularly scheduled meeting that Commissioner Jowers would preside over, but he's shaking hands with new District 1 County Commissioner George McIver. Now, some of you may be wondering how George was at the meeting on Monday, and he was. It was his first meeting as the District 1 County Commissioner. The reason that he was sworn in and he took his seat here in December is because he was elected in a special election. Again, that election was to fill the unexpired term of former commissioner, District 1 Commissioner Oscar Polk, who suddenly and tragically passed away this summer. When you run on a special election like that, when you're elected, the next time that governing body meets, you will take your seat. Now, everybody else who was elected last month will not take their seats until January 1. And what they'll do is there'll be some type of swearing in ceremony, probably the last couple of days here of December, to go ahead and get the oaths of office administered, so that once January 1 hits, the new elected officials, and there were a few, those new elected officials will take over, will take their seats. All right. So any new officials who were elected last month have to wait until January before they take over. But Mr. McIver was different. The election was in November. He really effectively took his seat one month early, so one meeting early. But Mr. McIver has been a county commissioner before. He served for many, many years, been out of government for a while, and threw his hat back in the ring when the special election was announced for Mr. Polk's seat. And Mr. McIver jumped right in. He made several motions. He actively took part in the commission meeting. What you see a lot of times with new commissioners or new board members with whatever respective body you're talking about here, they'll sit back and won't say much for the first meeting or so to see how things run. And, you don't want to be too overzealous early on. But Mr. McIver has been through this many times. He jumped right in and made several important motions, one of which we are going to talk about. So, 2 things that came out of the meeting that I thought were worthy of discussion here. Now, people don't like budgets, right? People don't like budgets. They don't want to get into all of that kind of stuff. But the budget's important, all right? You need to see how much money we got coming in, how much money we got going out, the various funds, and it can get very complicated. All right, because there are a couple of funds over here, a couple of funds over here. You got your sales tax money, you've got your property tax money, you got all that other stuff. All right, and what adds, I'm not going to say an element of confusion, but something that differentiates the county from the other boards is that the county runs on a calendar year instead of a fiscal year. If you run on a fiscal year, it's July 1 through June 30th, all right, which is what the school board does, what the city does, what most governing bodies do. The county, though, is different. They run on a calendar year from January 1 to December 31. So when you get into the month of December, you have to take a look at the budget and you have to go through all that. They do it every year. So here are a few numbers about the budget. The general fund, and again, let me back up. There have been several meetings. It's been advertised. It's been on the table. So if you don't know about the budget, there have been ample opportunities to look at it and investigate it and check it out if you would like to. But here are the numbers. So the general fund for 2026 is $23,156,000. That is an increase of 3.88% over the previous year. Most of that is pay raises that were carried over and some increases in employee benefits. Everything else pretty much stays the same. And one of the things that we talk about and we mentioned when you're looking at any government budget, any government allocations, whether you're talking about the federal government, the state government, or our municipal governments, is most of the budget goes into payroll and benefits and that kind of thing. All right. If governments didn't have to cover those costs, it would be much, much less expensive to operate government and provide the services that we as citizens have come to expect. But the majority of the budget, majority of any budget, of any program budget, whether you're talking about a small nonprofit or a city or county government or even a state government, a large percentage of that goes into administering that program, which means paying the salaries and the benefits for the employees. And the county is no different. County has a contingency of $500,000 is included in the budget that allows the county to take care of anything unexpected, like, I don't know, a massive hurricane that rolls through. $500,000 would not touch what Hurricane Helene did to us. And there's some Hurricane Helene money that we're going to talk about. So that was a general fund. The combined special revenue fund budget, and this is where the money is, $57,109,400. All right, those are the SPLOST funds, insurance premium tax fund, and the FEMA fund. There's about $30 million included into that, and that goes back to Hurricane Helene. That's going to go away in 2027. We are also owed in our our legislative delegation, our state folks talked about this when they were here on Tuesday for Eggs and Issues. We're still owed, I'm thinking $40-something million, $44 million is coming to mind. But we're still owed over $40 million from FEMA to cover Hurricane Helene expenses. So we've got $30 million there, but there's still a lot more money coming in. So, and there are a couple of amendments and things like that go with the budget, but for the most part, that's what the budget is. The county approved that the county approved it unanimously. So, listen, the budget goes up every year, payroll goes up, benefits go up, insurance goes up, the price of equipment, fuel, all that stuff, everything goes up. All right. So that's the budget. The second thing I want to talk about, and again, we're going to put this in writing. We're going to cover this a little bit more and break these numbers down in a story that we're going to get posted here in the next few hours, hopefully tonight. If you remember, and if you follow these things, about a year and a half ago, there was a rezoning request for 142 or so acres out on Cheney Road. All right, that's on the west part of Coffee County. You headed out 32, the new 4-lane project. Out there past Evans Mobile Home Park on the left, Cheney Road comes out on 32. Cheney Road is actually set to be paved here, hopefully, maybe next year, but it's part of the Bud Hutchison Road project. Bud Hutchison runs from Highway 158 past Crosswinds. At Crosswinds, it turns into dirt, and then it runs out to Sinkhole Road. And when it crosses Sinkhole Road, it becomes Cheney Road and goes out to 32. The paved portion of Bud Hutchison will be repaved, and then the rest of it will be paved along with Cheney Road. here, here hopefully in the next year. So that's the area that we're talking about, that Highway 32 West corridor. The Scruggs company would like to put an asphalt plant out there. And there's 140 acres for sale. It had access to the railroad tracks, and they need access to that for an asphalt plant to get the materials that they need in the volume that they need in order to make the finished product. That was brought before the county commission last year, maybe a year and a half or so ago, and it was rejected. There were concerns about the amount of property being rezoned, what the asphalt plant might do with regard to neighboring property values and to the neighbors, and also how it might affect traffic on Cheney Road. And there's a lot of traffic on Cheney Road. There's going to be even more traffic once it gets paved, but there's a lot of traffic because people use that Bud Hutchison Cheney Road corridor as a way to cut over from 158 to 32. All right. And it's going to be even more convenient once it's paved. So there were concerns about that with regard to the railroad tracks and blocking those tracks as the train cars do what they do. So what the Scruggs company did was went back to the drawing board. They reduced the amount of property. They cut it there from 142 acres down to about 50 acres. The actual address would be 450 Cheney Road, and the request was to rezone it from AG Agriculture to WHI Warehouse Heavy Industrial. Now, there were a few people who spoke against the request when it was brought up last year. There were more people who spoke out against it on Monday. Now, what's interesting, and of course, Bob Cheney spoke against it. Dr. Greg Tanner spoke against it as well. And they mentioned the traffic concerns and potential smell, truck traffic, train traffic, that kind of thing. Property values, had some concerns there. One thing they didn't talk about, and I don't want to go too into detail about it. All right. But when Dr. Tanner spoke, he said, well, when we talked last time, there were some things that we really didn't get into. Mr. Cheney's wife, Dr. Tanner's mother-in-law, had a condition called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, shortened usually to alpha-1. All right, and it's an inherited disorder that's it's a genetic issue that results in the lack of the alpha-1 antitrypsin protein, which can lead to lung and or liver disease. And Dr. Tanner's mother-in-law suffered tremendously from this disease, and it shortened her life. And there are some concerns that other family members are also susceptible to this and carry the gene that could cause this illness to suffer in other family members. So Dr. Tanner's plea to the county was, if you approve this, the potential pollution, air pollution from the asphalt plant could trigger this disease, or if it's going to show up anyway, could make it worse and could shorten our family members' lives. All right. And it was an impassioned and emotional statement that Dr. Tanner made. Now, those in favor of the asphalt plant presented studies and documentation that showed that the air pollution would be minimal and the plant was far enough away from residents that it shouldn't cause any problems. But there are an equal number of studies that show, well, it could cause problems. All right. So it just depends on what side of the issue you're on as to whether or not you would like to believe, which of those studies. There were folks from the Scruggs company who said, we're going to make sure that this is as clean and as quiet as possible. We're going to put some buffers up. It's a much smaller footprint than we had originally planned. We want to put this here. It would create 40 to 50 jobs. We have the rail access that we need. And so the sites that that this facility could choose somewhat limited because they need that rail access. It's very important to what they do. So if this site isn't available, probably not going to be able to find another location in Coffee County. And of course, the Chamber of Commerce folks want to make sure that we create as much jobs and bring as much business and industry to our community as possible. But this is one of those areas where you have a tangible, real collision between health and well-being and business and industry. And I was sitting there in the meeting I said, what are they going to do? What are we going to do? And also in the back of my mind, certainly I am very pro-economic development. I want as much business and industry and as many jobs in our community as possible as well. But at the same time, when you're listening to someone say that a neighbor, someone who lives very close by, could potentially have their life shortened because of a facility like this, I mean, you can't approve it. You just can't. As much as you would like to, you just can't. And the county commission did not approve it. Now, I mentioned that Mr. McIver was very active in that first meeting, and he was. Commissioner Ted Osteen made a motion to reject the rezoning request, and Mr. McIver seconded it very quickly, and it was a unanimous vote. So that project will not be coming to Douglas and Coffee County, at least not in that location. And they're not real sure that there are any other viable locations with the required rail access that would be suitable for an asphalt plant. So that was voted down for the second time. And even if you do bring it back when it's been voted down twice before, it'd be very difficult to get that approved a third time. So can't say for certain that it's not going to happen, but it is very, very unlikely that it will happen after that. So those are our top stories right now. We've posted a lot of other stories on Douglas Now. We're not going to run through everything. Go take a look at it. I want to mention this. I'm getting some messages. Some people are getting some messages when they go to DouglasNow.com that looks like they've been locked out, that looks like their access has been blocked. You have not been locked out. We have not blocked you. You are not banned from our site. We have had some security issues over the last couple of weeks. Our site actually got hacked, and our web folks did a phenomenal job of getting in and minimizing that damage. But because of what happened, you can get that message. And what you need to do is to back out a little bit and give it a few minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and then come back, and you should be able to get onto the site. I get that message on my phone. I don't on my laptop. I've not yet had access blocked to me on my laptop, but I have on my phone. So even I get that message sometimes. And we're continuing to work on it. We're continuing to try to solve these problems. But one of the, it's a problem, but I guess you could look at it as it's kind of a positive problem if there's such a thing, that the website is so popular, we get so much traffic that it is a target for hackers. And we got hit by somebody out of Germany a few weeks ago, and we've been trying to clean that up ever since. So don't panic if you get that message. You haven't been blocked. We haven't limited your access. You're just going to have to give it a couple of minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then go back in, and you should be good to go. So, but if you continue to have problems, a lot of people have been sending me messages. Send me a message. We'll take a look at it. We'll see what we can come up with. As always, we like to look at our tower cam. The weather has improved today a little bit. Very cold or chilly this morning. It's gotten colder through the day. It rained some earlier. We still have some cloud cover. Overall, not a very pretty day. And these winter days, late fall, early winter, they're really about as bad as you can get weather-wise. It's ugly weather, those gray days with the wind blowing. It's cold, and it's wet, and they're just nasty winter days. One of the reasons I don't like, we see on our shot here, some of these trees, you got a tree laid over here. That's from the storm. But you can see, there's some leaves down. I don't like it when the leaves are pretty when they fall. But, when it gets to be January, February, and you look around and you're in the throes of winter, and the forest that you used to not be able to see through, you can look all the way through for a long time. I just don't like it. I am much more of a spring and summer person than I am here in the dead of winter. So, and this is one of those ugly, nasty days. I know we're not in winter yet. We're close. But these are the kinds of days that I don't like. And we can get through December. We have Christmas to look forward to. Then January and February are just my two least favorite months of the year. There's nothing going on. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. We get a little bit of hope when March 1st rolls around. All right. I really do. I look very forward. After Christmas, I look forward to March 1. That's when I feel like we're coming out of the doldrums a little bit. But yeah, not a very pretty day today, and it's supposed to be kind of a nasty weekend. So maybe we can salvage the weekend with a Georgia Bulldogs win on Saturday. I want to thank everybody for watching. We will see you on Tuesday unless there's some breaking news between now and then. If something happens, we will be here. If you don't hear from us, we'll see you on Tuesday. Y'all have a good weekend.